Hello and welcome. This is the interview on Linda Ikeji TV. My name is Tokwe Olonio. With me on the show today is Mr. Lanre Fadeho, a civil servant who is here to share with us how he lost his wife 2 years ago after childbirth, and to his knowledge, the doctor who handled the surgery was not qualified. Let's delve right into the conversation and understand the full story. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
So from the little I've understood from what you've said, you lost your wife after she gave birth to your third child.
Yes.
Could you just narrate to us the story?
Okay, well, I'm not about to tell us something entirely very new.
Okay.
The news is all over the media space. If you check on the Sun newspaper, Nige.com, the nation's newspaper, and some other online media outfits, the news is there. Just type in on Google Adesola Kemi Fadeho, that's the name of my late wife, and you see the story all over, the net. The major reason why I'm here is to tell or to remind Governor Ambode and his Commissioner of Health about the social contract that I, as a civil servant and a taxpayer, have with the government. My responsibility is to pay my tax as at when due. And the responsibility of government is also to make sure that social amenities and other things are provided for the citizenry. If I'm doing my part, the government should do their part. Part of the government's part is to build hospitals, infrastructure, and every other thing. And another thing government is expected to do is to make sure that there is safety for all and sundry. And wherever we see that such has been compromised, it is also the duty of the citizen to tell the government about the infractions that he or the citizen is seeing. And such infractions is expected to be investigated. And when it is investigated, the government is supposed to do something about it. The government should be seen as doing something about it and making the citizens know that they are on top of the situation. Now, let me just give a lowdown of the story of Adesola Kemi Fadeho. Well, she is a double master's degree person that was just planning to go in for a PhD abroad, the next year after the surgery, but her dreams were cut short just by doctors in government hospitals, that we expected to know more and to be able to do more. We went to Ifako Ijaiye General Hospital. We patronized them for the antenatal program, and they well knew her history, and we expected that in such a hospital, we should have consultants, qualified people that would handle such matters. And expectedly, we have one Dr. Badigeshin that has always been, reported to be the person on her case. But to our chagrin, we noticed that, at the theater, there was commotion, there was pandemonium. I was called in, and I noticed that it was not the person that was supposed to be on duty that was on duty. Of course, for one reason or the other, he may not have been on duty that day, but at least an equally well-qualified person should have been on duty. So there was this other doctor, Dr. Ikeji Olani, who performed the surgery, and she called me in that there was so much blood loss and all of that, that I needed to get oxytocin in order to, to bring down the level of blood loss and to enable the uterus to contract very well, and for me also to get some pints of blood.
So sorry, what was the surgery for?
Now, the surgery was for the delivery of the baby.
Okay.
But in the process of the surgery, there was problem, and the surgery spanned for more than 4 hours. Something that should not take more than maximum an hour, at least from the previous experiences I've had. So we got all that we needed to get, and we noticed that 3 or 4 days after the surgery, her tummy started swelling, and the doctors looked at the situation. They said probably it's because the intestines, were not yet back in shape, that with time everything will get better. But later, we got to know that the intestine must have been ruptured. So they performed a second operation.
So who told you at that point that the intestines were ruptured?
It was the doctors. The doctors were always reviewing her.
Okay.
From time to time, different doctors.
She was still on admission in the hospital?
Yes, she was still on admission in the hospital.
And the baby was okay?
The baby was okay. So they now had to refer us to LASUTH. LASUTH being the mother or the parent hospital to the Ifako hospital. The doctor that actually performed the surgery was also from LASUTH. It's just that LASUTH was under construction then, so they seconded some of their doctors to Ifako. So at LASUTH, the operation was performed, and all the fecal, matter that were in our body cavities, stomach cavity, were packed out. It was more than a bucket full, and at that point she was already undergoing what they call sepsis. That is, there was all-round bacterial infection, and at that point body temperature was overboard. She couldn't breathe well. A lot of things were just wrong, and at the end of the day, all her organs started failing one after the other until she died. So I wrote a letter to the Lagos State government to investigate what had happened, because I knew the cause of death, and I felt that there were infractions. I felt that due process was not followed. So they called us for an interview, investigative panel. They called all the doctors that attended to her from one point to the other, and at the end of the day, they came up with a document. This was the document they gave to us, that okay, at a later date they were going to call us so that we can discuss the report and all of that. But to my utter disappointment, up till today, nothing has been done in that direction.
And from this, I can see this was 31st October 2016.
Yes. Nothing has been done up till today. I remember during the investigations, the consultant was actually pleading that, well, we should just take it as an act of God, that he was even appreciative that I came for the investigations, that in some other crimes, some other persons would have taken a gun and started shooting everybody. But I'm afraid they are actually pushing me to that kind of point, whereby I will have to take a revenge on the system, whereby because since the rule of law does not hold sway again in Nigeria, then everybody for himself. That is what the government is telling us. I've written to Governor Ambode severally on this, to the Commissioner of Health severally on this. And, they kept playing the hide and seek game. And I'm tired about it. Because psychologically, it's painful for you to know that a government that is supposed to be on the citizen's side is siding with killer doctors to continue to perpetuate such acts. I can tell you that so many people are dying on a daily basis due to this. After my wife's death, in the news, there was the news of a Portuguese wife, Chiamaka de Freitas, that died under similar circumstances. There was another Chisom Maneka also that also died in recognized hospital. So we have seen that it is not about the name of the hospital. It is not about the infrastructures that are actually put in place. It is about the human resources that are put on ground. And that is why we find out that our leaders are going abroad for any little ailment, for headache, for their ears and all of that. And they abandoned the Nigerian hospitals, for people, for the masses to be dying in the hands of doctors like this. I'm not trying to play down the role of the doctor, and I'm not trying to, push aside our Nigerian doctors. They are trying in their own, right. But the truth of the matter is that the situation is 50-50. It is either you go to the hospital, you die, or something else happens. My wife was totally okay, even from their reports, it was seen that she was okay. She went there with her own legs. She drove to the hospital by herself. She was okay. So why should somebody that is okay in a Nigerian hospital come out of the hospital a corpse. This is a cause for concern. And if the government that is expected to protect the citizenry is the one now covering such acts of, impunity or let me say incompetence by doctors, then we are in a state of anarchy. And I'm saying it with my full senses, that is what we are being pushed to do now. That you should defend yourself, you should fight for yourself, and it should not be in a system where we have a government in place. Thank you.
So now, what exactly, now you have an opportunity to tell the government, or you have an opportunity to tell people who are listening, what exactly do you want the government to do? Because this has been on for 2 years, and with a platform like this, and you can say your mind, what exactly do you want them to do for you now?
What I want from the government is not to raise my wife. Nobody has the power to do that. But at least there's a way the feelings of hurt can be assuaged if the right things are done. If the right punitive measures are put in place, if the right settings, are put in place in the hospitals, and if the report is released, at least with the report being released, it will make some other doctors out there, to sit up to their duties. At least let the death of this woman, be like, an atonement for other women not to have similar situations again. But when you cover it up, when you don't bring it out in the open and punish whoever needs to be punished, when you allow corruption, in our health sector, then I'm afraid people will be dying. I don't know whether it will be my sister or a friend or whoever that will be in this mess at another period in time. But I want to tell you that that report is germane to making me, at least have a bit of respite, that at least something was done by the government to make sure that others don't fall into such similar situations again.
So after you saw that efforts to get the government to react has been futile, has there been any other means to a solution that you've taken? I've also written to the Nigerian Medical and Dental Council, and they are still on it. They are trying their best. At least they are giving us a little bit of respite. But another thing is that their procedures seem to take too long, seems to take eternity. I've written to them. There have been counter affidavits from the doctors, and I've written my own second affidavit to counter whatever they have said. And I'm also expecting the doctors to do their own second counter affidavits. It is after this that their body of investigative doctors will now give their verdict as to what actually happened. And if there's anybody to be punished, they also have the power to punish doctors, to seize licenses, and to give other forms of punishment also to whoever has done anything wrong. So how is aside everything that's been going on, how are your children? Because you said apart from the baby that was born, you have other children. So how have you been managing to take care? How did you manage to take care of the baby, considering the fact that the mom passed away?
My sister, it has not been easy. I do virtually everything myself. Even in my place of work, it has been taking a toll on me. Sometimes because you have to take care of the baby. At night, he could be crying, he could need something, you may need to attend to the other 2 children, and it's just all by myself, and with the help of my mom, my sister. Now she's working, so everything, once I come from work, I go home and I pick them home in the morning. So sometimes even in the office I could be drowsy, just because of the negligence of somebody. And another thing is that psychologically I've not really been balanced ever since. The children too, they have not been themselves, because that's not the future they plan for themselves. I was raised by a father and a mother. So I knew the parental love, how it is. So for you to now, I can't imagine myself not having a wife, you know, for and a mother for my children. And, you know, it's not just easy to say, okay, I just forget about it and move on. Once you are emotionally tied to somebody, it is not easy to transfer that emotion to another person. And it's not, the situation is not always the same, because even when you are remarrying that other woman, it takes a very big grace for that person to see those children as her own children. In fact, I've gone through a lot that I cannot say with few words. And I think that there should be an action, a definitive action that should be taken by the government. Personally, I've started an NGO, a foundation in her name, and with time, we begin to roll out our programs to make sure that everybody that has been hurt at one point or the other comes on board to help other people. Of course, the help cannot be for themselves again, but at least to help other people not to fall into similar situations. I can tell you that in that hospital now, at least there have been a little bit of sanity that has been instilled into their workings. At least I hear news from women that go for the antenatal and all of that. They will say, there is a doctor that said, please, so I cannot attend to you, or the consultant is not around, I cannot attend to you now, because we remember the case of a particular woman that has been trending and all of that. You know, at another point, you could hear that a doctor said, I cannot allow a young man to come and, you know, disgrace me out of this practice I've been, you know, into for decades, you know, just because of, you know, little acts of negligence. So it shows that at least there are ripple effects, but we want the ripple effects to be total. We want all hospitals in Lagos State to take a cue from the death of Adesola Kemi Fadehon. We want all hospitals in Nigeria to know that if somebody dies needlessly in your hands, you will be in for it. But once the government keeps on covering it, these things will keep on continuing. So the reason why I'm here is that the government should release that report. The terms, you know, of engagement between us and the government for that investigations that took place was that a report will be released. They even told us in that letter that no maternal death goes on in Lagos without it being viewed, and that a report will be released. That report must come out. If that report does not come out, I will not keep quiet. Whatever it takes for that report to come out. The mistake they are making now is that they think that they are silencing the report. What they should have done is to silence me. If they silence me, the report may not need to come out. But once I'm still alive, that report must come out. If it takes 10 years, it must come out. And justice must be served.
I really hope the government sees to bring it on the report. But before I let you go, I would like to ask, how many years were you married until her death?
8 years.
8 years. And your eldest child is?
8 years old.
And you're, okay, 8,
6, and 1.5 years.
1.5 years. Well, I really hope with this interview we've had with Mr. Larry Fadehon that the government sees to helping his situation and helping to curb other instances like this coming up in the Nigerian health sector, and trying to make Lagos State and Nigeria a better place for people to live. I really feel your pain. I cannot imagine what it feels like, but I can just empathize with you, and we hope that the next time we'll be seeing you here will be to tell us that you were able to get the reports and you've been able to get the closure that you need. And I hope that with the fatherly love that you have, your children would have a great place to grow up.
Thank you.
Until next time, this is the interview on Linda Ikeji TV. My name is Tokwe Olowoniyo. Remember to follow us on our social media platforms. It's Linda Ikeji TV. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Linda Ikeji TV. If you want to talk to me directly, it's Tokwe Olowoniyo on Instagram. Until next time, do take care of yourself.